All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining. I think in the interest of time, we're just going to go ahead and get started. And for those of you who I haven't met before, my name is Christina Sosa. My day job, I am a senior solution engineer here at Salesforce on the enterprise high techs here. And I'm also the president of the Women's Network here in Portland. And to round out Champion Month, we are here to partner with Foodsmart, which some of you may or may not have heard of Foodsmart before, but they're a really amazing benefit to our US employees that I just learned about earlier this year. And they are focused on providing simple and easy ways to help you basically reach your nutrition goals. I'll let them talk more about that so that they can do more justice on that and the benefits that they offer. So just wanted to thank you all for joining today. If you want to jump to the next slide. And also wanted to shout out Chelsea Carey, who is not able to join this call, and she recently joined a new company. She was our prior co-president, and she helped bring this session to life. And she also used to utilize this benefit. And just a huge thank you to our speakers today and to Foodsmart for sponsoring the session today, which, given that it is our Champion Month, we are celebrating our Women's Network and our allies. So our Foodsmart crew actually wanted us to start things with an inspiring story from one of our members here in Portland. So a huge thank you to our speaker, Kate Webb, for being open to sharing your story and the results that you've seen working with Foodsmart. So with that, I'll hand things over to you, Kate, before we turn things over to the Foodsmart team.
Hi. So obviously I'm Kate. And I'm trying to get you. There's some before pictures in the chat, but I haven't been able to get an after picture. But I've lost about 100 pounds. Now most of that was doing different things. But Foodsmart has really the most important thing with Foodsmart is it's helped me maintain my loss. And the thing is, at this, I actually refer to weight loss to losing a fairly large amount of weight and as a party trick. Like, I can do it. I know how to do it. I got my first diet book when I was 11 years old. My mom hid it under a couch cushion, where I'd be sure to find it. And so that started my diet life. And I kind of know what works in some ways, but I've never really learned to eat. I've always followed a diet. Somebody told me what to eat at what times and when and what. And so this is actually helping me really understand that I can eat until I'm satisfied, but I need to start with vegetables. And I can eat as much pizza as I want after I have a salad. And I will eat less pizza because I've eaten a salad. And that's really kind of in a nutshell. But the other things, the biggest, I don't know, I'm blah, 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 blah. The other thing that I really wanted to say about this was that, for me, accountability isn't necessarily what I'm looking for. It's more troubleshooting. And because the Foodsmart RDs are registered dietitians, they can actually give you advice. I've worked with a lot of other programs that they can't give you advice. They can basically only parrot back your own words. They can't help you troubleshoot. They can't help you figure out stuff. It's kind of frustrating. So I think that's the biggest reason why that's different. So I could, I'm kind of random, kind of babbling. So I will stop and I'll share an after picture in a minute as soon as I can get it uploaded, but I couldn't do both at the same time. So thank you for your time. And I hope it's helped. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to go on at great length. Thanks, bye. And our next, I think Teresa, the registered dietitian, is our next speaker. So thanks, Teresa.
Well, thank you, Kate, for sharing your story. As she said, my name is Teresa. I am one of the Foodsmart registered dietitians. I've been a dietitian for, I guess, over 10 years now. I originally started out in meteorology. Now I'm a dietitian. So I was going to be your weather girl, but now I'm your dietitian. And I've worked mainly in maternal and child health, but I also work pretty generally with a number of different food and nutrition related concerns. What I love about being in this position, and I know all of my colleagues do a great job of, is really customizing what we do. It's not just this one size fits all type of plan. We really sit with you. We troubleshoot, like Kate said. We can help you meal plan. We can help you we can just be there for accountability. We can help you with specific questions. And if one of us is not an expert in any particular concern that you have, we have a whole network of dietitians who can help you with that. All right, sorry, my arrow key wasn't working. Okay, so this is also when you are working with Foodsmart, you also get access to the Foodsmart app, which has all of these features. You can see there's recipes and there's grocery lists. You can send those grocery lists right over to Walmart and Instacart and Amazon Fresh. You can check out deals at your local grocery store, things like that. So that's the link to register and with the details at the bottom, but foodsmart.com/schedule to book an appointment with one of us. Again, we have dietitians, I think, pretty much licensed in every state, at least every state that requires licensure. Not all of them do. You don't need to know that. And also a little bit about me. I have 3 kids of my own. I've been working from home. I've worked with a lot of working parents. It's probably one of my specialties, you can say, because I know how that is. So, all right, sorry, just some slide navigation issues. So this is what we're going to cover today. Since there are so many different components to women's health and women's nutrition, I wanted to do an overview of any of these just to kind of give you a taste of the different ways nutrition and food and meals can go. But first, let's start with a poll. Claire, are you bringing up the poll?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. So I want to know, what is your number one health goal right now? We all have some sort of health goal. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just are like, I'm great. I'm just here for fun. But what is your number one health goal? And that poll will pop up in just a sec.
Sorry, technical difficulties with the poll. It actually might just be better if everyone can just throw that in the chat if they're comfortable.
Yeah, that's cool. Someone already started that, building a better relationship with food. I love that. And we will be talking briefly about that today. It's a lot of topics to try to fit it into a short time, but I wanted to give everyone a well-rounded webinar today. Weight loss, okay, very common. Most people come with us for weight loss, although sometimes those goals change. Plant-based nutrition, veggies and fiber. I'm a big fan of fiber. Fueling workout, that's really cool. We actually have a sports nutrition program within Foodsmart that you can work on with your dietitian. Asthma and allergies, blood pressure, weight loss, diabetes. Yeah, thank you for sharing, everyone. I know this isn't as anonymous as a poll. So sweet tooth, food is absolutely medicine. Okay, but very specific question about protein powder and collagen. Yeah, stress relief. We're actually going to be talking briefly about that today. Maintaining weight loss. Cool. Wow, lots of different reasons you all are here, and that's kind of how it is. I never know what I'm going to be working on when I see a patient for the first time, which makes it kind of exciting. And collagen. Okay. So nutrition, the point is nutrition is individualized. It is something that it's not across the board going to be the same journey as I alluded to before. Sometimes someone comes to me for weight loss and really we end up working on their relationship with food, and weight goes on the back burner or might even go away. Or they come to me for, someone's come to me for weight loss before and ended up needing help with the diabetes diagnosis. And, food can impact all of these things. And just if you guys want to use, the little hand raising feature or anything like that, if you have that available in this version of Zoom, who has seen a dietitian before? If you just want to be like me, oh, 3, 4, 5. Oh, look at, wow, 9, 10, 11. Very cool. Awesome. So yeah, some of you have had the opportunity. I hope it was a good opportunity for you. And then in addition, I find the women I work with, there's also some specific questions and concerns that we have, and especially with the different phases of life, and, based on what our hormones are doing and things like that. All right. So to dive in, first, we're going to talk about the balance plate. I know that might seem kind of dry, but it is kind of the basis to good nutrition. And regardless of who I'm talking to, we do always end up getting to this. And I hope I can give you some practical tips along the way. So when we're looking at the healthy plate, if you've never seen this before, we do want to quarter whole grains and starches, our fiber-rich foods that we've talked about, our lean proteins, and I'll give some examples of what some of this looks like, and then our non-starchy veggies on half the plate. That's generally what we're looking for. And why is that? Well, the non-starchy veggies, the more we get, the better. It's interesting, only 20.6% of women 18 and over eat even just 5 servings of fruits and veggies a day. And it's recommended you eat at least 5. Some places you'll see actually recommend 10. And just to give you a little clue about what a serving is, so I have here, if you can see, a bowl of berries. This is 1 cup of berries. This is 1 serving, okay? Or if we're looking at a banana, it's not one of those gigantic ones. This is one serving of banana, okay? So I think this is what, 4 or 5 inches maybe, okay? So that's the type of thing we're looking for. With salads, I often tell my patients, you know what, you eat 1 salad, not that you have to eat salad. I'm not the world's biggest salad fan, but even just eating 1 salad could easily give you 3 or 4 or 5 servings of veggies, because 2 cups of lettuce, which really is 2 handfuls. You can't fit a lot of lettuce in your hands. 2 handfuls of lettuce is 1 serving. So it can actually be relatively easy to get your veggies in. And then when we're talking about our whole grains and starches, those are going to give you your satisfaction. Those are going to fuel your gas tank. And our lean proteins also give you a satisfaction level there too, provides you some healthy fats, but we always do want to include some healthy fats in our meal. And I'll be going through each of these things just in a little bit more detail. Again, I know some of you want to get to some of the more exciting topics. Oh, and someone said I like to cook veggies. So are we counting the servings? So when we're cooking veggies, it's actually a half cup cooked, 1 cup raw. You can think of it that way. And also we will be doing a Q&A at the end. If you want to put nutrition related questions into the Q&A box so I can make sure I see them, I forgot to mention that. That would be good, just so I can make sure I'm not missing anything in the craziness of the chat. Okay, and then in terms of fruits and veggies, you could think a little bit outside of the box. Some people just think, oh, I have to eat an apple. Oh, all right, there's my cup of berries, which I know lots of people love berries, but sometimes it can kind of just be blah, just eating your piece of fruit. Some really good ideas. Dried fruit counts, it does. Now, ideally, we want to make sure they haven't sprinkled a little sugar on that. Sometimes they do. But dried fruit counts, you mix it with nuts and you get some healthy fat and extra fiber in there. Pre-cut produce is always one of my favorites. It cuts down on prep time. It's a little bit more expensive, but sometimes it's okay to pay for convenience. It's not more virtuous to cut your own vegetables. I'll put it that way. Sometimes we have this stigma around it. Grapes and other things that can just easily be washed and eaten, grapes, cherries, things like that. Frozen is a really easy way to get things in. You can roast frozen veggies. I just learned that in the past year, if you can believe it. And I find it to be an amazing way to quickly, roasted vegetables are kind of a semi-popular thing right now. You can do it from frozen. You don't have to chop anything. You throw them there with some oil and seasoning, boom, in the oven, and you've got some roasted veggies with dinner. If you do use canned fruit or veggies, just rinse it. If it's canned fruit, make sure it's in 100% juice. It's okay to use those things, okay? What I've loved to do lately is getting Greek yogurt, and if you find it a little too strong flavored, the Fage Greek yogurt is much milder tasting. You put some ranch seasoning, some onion powder, and some salt and garlic powder, and you've got yourself an onion dip or a ranch dip. Mixing pureed fruit, and honestly, that can be baby food or applesauce. I won't tell anyone. It's you can throw that in, and that can sweeten some plain yogurt for you. So you're getting some yogurt without some added sugar. But there are lots of unique ways to get your fruits and veggies in. And I see a lot of people are throwing things in the chat. I know I'm not the biggest fan of cottage cheese either. Personally, I recommend it to patients, not my favorite either, Claire. But yeah, people love dipping that in cottage cheese. You can always do hummus. But there are lots of ways to get in your fruits and veggies without you just having to sit there and eat a plain baby carrot, is basically what I'm getting down to. On the other hand, if you are pressed for time for dinner, and especially if you have a family, go ahead and just quickly chop up some raw veggies, and that can be your veggie side. You don't have to do any elaborate cooking. Cut up some cucumber slices. My mom always did tomatoes and cucumbers with some salt and pepper. That was our veggie side for dinner. So you can make it as simple or as complicated as you want, but there is no one best way to get in this produce. Just try to get it in. Just think, how can I add some produce to it? You're having an egg sandwich? I don't know, shove some arugula or spinach in there. Think about ways you can throw things in. And a dietitian can always help you, of course, too. Now, protein, it's really interesting. I get people who come to me and say, you know what, my goal is to get more protein. And I say, well, why? What is about protein? Well, I just heard that protein helps. Helps with what? Weight loss, or I should just get protein. So we have to do a little bit of re-education. So protein is great. Most people don't need any more. Now, in specific circumstances, perhaps pregnancy, or if you're recovering from a surgery or injury, we need a little more. So you can see here, though, 1 gram of protein per 1 kilogram of body weight. Sometimes it's even less. Sometimes it's 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. Anything more than that, our body doesn't really use and doesn't really need. Now, that being said, okay, 79 grams of protein a day for someone who weighs 175 pounds. We're not getting that all at once. The other benefit to protein, in addition to the muscle repair and organ maintenance and things like that, is that it digests slower, so it keeps us satisfied. So there's nothing worth getting protein in at every meal. It's just not this miracle thing that's magically going to help you lose weight, or that you need in order to lose weight in excessive amounts or anything like that. Great sources of protein. I mean, of course, we have our chicken and our meats and things like that. Beans are my favorite. That's probably my favorite dietitian food is beans, beans, beans. Let's see, all the beans and all the lentils. Has all the good stuff. I will tell people to put them in anything. And that's another thing you can dip your veggies in, is bean dip. Nut butters are a great source. For our vegetarian, soy products like tofu or our Beyond Burgers or anything like that. For the pescatarians, you're in a pinch and you feel like you just are terrible at cooking fish. Tuna and canned salmon is a great way to get in fish. It really is. It's easy. It's cheap. I personally love tuna mixed in with like tomato sauce and pasta. It's actually really good. So there are different ways to get in those lean proteins and kind of come up with a variety. It doesn't just have to be plain grilled chicken breast or plain baked chicken. That's another one that has some sort of strange health halo around it. Oh, carbs. We need to avoid them, right? I hope everyone says no, but but carbs, they are not the bad guy. It's actually what our brain uses as a source of fuel. They're the gas for our gas tanks. They are what our body converts to energy converts to energy for just that quick burst. Other things take a lot longer. Now, we definitely need carbs. Are there carbs that are healthier than others? Great. Yes, there are. There, things high in fiber, like our 100% whole grain bread. I have celiac, so that's why I have a gluten-free. That doesn't mean gluten's bad. It's just what I have to eat. But this says 100% whole grain. That's the type of thing we want to look for. Any of our ancient grains, even potatoes, sweet potatoes, things like that. Our beans have carbs. Our fruits have carbs. The things we want to limit are things like added sugars, which are clearly stated on the label now, they didn't used to be, are I don't want to say white carbs, but the things we consider white carbs like bread and white rice and things, doesn't mean you can never eat those things again, or you're going to destroy your health by eating them. It's just that most of the time, or at least half the time, we want to choose a whole grain option, because then we have fiber and some additional nutrition in there. Is anyone, and I'd love to hear if anyone has a favorite whole grain, or if anyone has any recipes they'd like to link to for the group. Love to hear it. There can be some great whole grain recipes out there. One of my favorites is using bean pasta and everything, like the Banza or any, the Trader Joe's brand or anything like that. Love bean-based pastas. Again, since I have celiac, I can't eat the real stuff anyway. So, but yeah, Trader Joe's black bean pasta is actually really good. I haven't picked some of that up in a while. I need to grab some. All right. Quinoa salad. Yep. That's a great go-to. Remember, salads don't just have to be lettuce and tomatoes. We can make salads out of pretty much anything. Think of it as a cold dish. All right. So weight loss. Massage. Oh yeah. Kale salad. Nice. Weight loss. We're going to do a little myth busting around weight loss, because like I said, this is probably the most common reason why people initially come to see us. I won't get in here. Some of you have shared already that you've tried to lose weight or have lost weight. But just for fun, brown rice ramen, that is really good. Yes. Just for fun, if you want to throw into the chat the names of diets you've tried. Sometimes it can be a fun little experiment, but only if you're brave enough. But I'll briefly share my journey. Weight Watchers. Yep. That was a big one, or still is. It's funny. I remember my friend's mom counting points back in the mid 90s, doing their little Weight Watchers points in their little notebooks and things. My issue when I was younger is that I have genetic love handles. They are there regardless of my weight. And I was in high school in the era of low rise jeans. So if any of you are there with me, you know how that was. If you were just not like a board, which there was nothing wrong with that body type either. But for that fashion era, not a low pressure situation for someone in high school. And we have to think about it as nearly half of adults have tried to lose weight in the last 12 months. And some studies suggest that the average person will try 126 diets over their lifetime. Like, look at all these diets that have come up. Look at all these. And these are just the ones that are popular now. And then there are some, I think someone threw cabbage soup diet in there. I mean, that's an oldie. That is an oldie diet, but I've still had people try it. These diets promise quick fixes. And you know what? The fact of the matter is 80% of people who lose significant weight will not sustain that weight loss. This isn't meant to scare anyway, but it's maybe we want to think about how to reformulate our goals. Okay. Well, what does that look like? So is it even possible to lose weight fast? Sure. Okay. But so you look at Kim Kardashian wearing the Marilyn Monroe dress and that 16 pounds in 3 weeks and yada, yada, yada. She had to work really hard. I think she advertised what she ate. But what's not shown here, well, for the fact that she has people cooking for her and doing errands for her and things. What's not shown here, though, is so we're having a pizza and donut party at the hotel tonight. Okay, that's a perfect example of why these extreme diets to lose weight quickly usually don't work. You end up craving the foods that you've forced out. It doesn't take into account real life. I can't tell you how many people I've seen who have gone really did this perfect diet over the course of their week. Then all of a sudden they get to the end of the week and there is a barbecue or there's a party or they're going out to dinner with friends and The diet didn't account for that, because as a good dieter, you should never do things like that, right? And that's not reality. Who is not going to have these celebrations? And you can say all you want, well, it's just about the people and the, you know what? If everyone's eating cake in front of you, why are we rejecting it? Okay. So, and just in the interest of time, I can come back to detoxes after, but I want to make sure we get into some of the other topics too. So good news. So what does this look like? What does a healthy approach to good nutrition look like? Well, first, we want to look at our SMART goals. What is a SMART goal? We use it all the time, and I find them to be particularly effective for the people I work with. We want the goals we choose to be specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-based. Well, first is the why. Why do we do this? Because those quick fixes don't work, because these diets don't work, what we need to do is change our habits little by little to become healthier over time. And to also allow for celebrations, to allow for, you know what, I don't care, the whole family's having ice cream tonight. To allow for the ups and downs of life, for the stressful moments, the not stressful moments. Okay, if we set SMART goals and chip away to make ourselves incrementally healthier, that is a much better and sustainable approach than trying to change everything all at once, like with these diets. A good example of this is, I'll ask a patient what their goal is, their behavior goal is for next time. And they say, well, I want to eat more fruits and vegetables. What does that mean, right? What is more? More in relation to what? To today, to last week, to Tuesdays at 3 o'clock? What does that mean? That's where the specific comes in. How many fruits and vegetables are you going to eat? How many minutes of exercise? It gives you something, I want to say it's like something you can just check off on a calendar. All right. And that's where the measurable and the action oriented and the realistic all come in. Okay. It's something that needs to be achievable for you. You know, I've had a patient who her only goal was to cook one homemade meal a week. That was it. That was all she had in her. And that was okay. Because if you do more than that, great. If you do that, at least you're feeling still accomplished and like, all right, I did this, I can move on. It starts to become a habit, something that's ingrained in you. And also, again, we have to take into account that life happens and it's okay. It's okay to not stick to a plan or meet this goal 100% of the time. Food is important in pretty much every culture in the world. It is a opportunity for celebration and relationship building, and we want to celebrate food. We do. And it's okay if it's okay if you're not sticking to these arbitrary rules. I like to say internal versus external. We want to keep in mind that we want to internally understand what we want to eat and need to eat versus an external rule telling you what to do so, because those aren't always as fun to stick to. Okay. All right, so this kind of rolls into a favorite topic of mine. I'm not sure if you may have heard about it or not. It's called intuitive eating. We end up working on this a lot of the time when someone comes to me for weight loss, but not all of the time. It emphasizes being present, enjoying your food, and breaking away from that diet culture, especially with people who have a history of disordered eating or a history of just being really affected by diet culture. I've been working on this personally for years and years, ever since I learned about it in grad school. It's a gradual process, and it can be frightening at times, but it can really help you dig deep and discover some aspects about yourself and your relationship with food. It can be very eye-opening. So I just wanted to highlight that there's actually a great, and we can work on that with you at Foodsmart. This is one of my favorites, the Intuitive Eating Workbook. If you're of the journaling sort, this is a great resource if you'd like to check it out. Okay, so switching gears yet again, I did want to touch briefly about physical activity, and I did want to lead a mini workout. So I'm trying to see, we might be able to, we might squeeze it in at the end, because I did want to lead a little chair workout. But in general, the recommendations for physical activity, which helps with everything, right? It helps with mood, it helps with chronic diseases. The one thing I want to emphasize with it is do something you enjoy. And I know that sounds so cliche, but because it helps you maintain longevity and can even help you focus at work, don't feel like it needs to look a specific way. I personally have fallen into that trap. Well, if I'm going to start running, I have to run the way like I should be training for something. Or if I'm lifting, I have to do this type of lifting this many times a week. Just do what feels good to you. I personally like structure in my workouts because otherwise I just kind of feel lost. So I download all the apps and do all the workouts, right? If I don't want to do a workout that includes burpees, I'm not going to do it because I don't like them. It doesn't matter. If you like gardening, go garden. If you want to walk 3 times a week and maybe list, yeah, I know I hate burpees so much. No burpees club, absolutely. You want to do a minute of jumping jacks every hour? Great. Just think of it as my body wants to move. How can I move my body today? Even if it's just standing up every hour. Like I said, even if it's doing jumping jacks every hour, anything like that. Okay. And like I said, if we have a moment, we will do a little chair workout that you can implement throughout your day. Some people mention stress management is something they're looking to work on. Why does stress matter? Well, it can actually affect our appetites. And a lot of times I have worked with people on stress management first before I have worked with them on their actual food intake, because we have to take care of this big, huge elephant in the room before we can work on some of the other things. Stress can actually be exacerbated though by not eating enough. Okay, if your gas tank is on empty, you get hangry, right? And you don't have a lot of patience for things. Movement can help immensely. If you need to, working with a mental health professional, breath work is really good and it's something to practice. One thing I love to recommend is when you're doing breath work, it's not so much about the breath in, it's about the breath out. So if you're kind of jittery or anxious about something, taking a breath in, maybe on a count of 3 or 4, when we're breathing in, rather than belly breathing, which I know is a big one, you can certainly do that. I like to think of breathing into the sides of my rib cage, expanding those muscles along the sides of my rib cage, and then doing a long out breath. To relieve stress, we want to get rid of that carbon dioxide. We don't want to just take in all the oxygen because that's priming us to run from the lion or whatever. When we're exhaling the carbon dioxide, we are actually calming ourselves down. So it's more about the out breath than the in breath. All right, when you're doing breathing for stress relief. Yes, and breathing into your back, absolutely. Just breathing, imagine filling up that lower part. It's not a shallow breath, and it's really focused on the outward breath. Okay. And here is where I'll put the little plug for dietitians. And again, accountability, coaching, unbiased information. And again, you do have unlimited free visits with a Foodsmart dietitian. So foodsmart.com/schedule, you can check us out. All right. So one last gear switch here. Since this is a women's health focused webinar, I did want to dive into some of the phases of life. A lot of people might be in the fertility and pregnancy or postpartum and lactation stage. The postpartum and lactation and really pregnancy those are my passions. I am also a lactation consultant. That's why. So some things to think about: preconception through pregnancy. We want to get in our folate, our iron. Choline is my pet nutrient. I love it. It's great for brain development. That is mainly found in eggs and seafood. Iron is important because anemia can cause some complications later on in pregnancy. So we get iron from meat, beans, seafood, and spinach. Folate is usually often recommended as a supplement, but a lot of fruits and vegetables have it, and some foods are fortified with it. Fiber is helpful for the pregnancy constipation. And of course, we talked about fiber earlier, fruits, veggies, and whole grains. I could do an entire webinar just on fiber. Postpartum and lactation, you want to make sure to stock up and get your support system in place. Have a snack basket, always have that snack basket with you. Find a lactation consultant if you need it. We can help with any type of feeding, not just breastfeeding. If you need help with formula feeding, that's absolutely something that can be helped with. And supplementing with vitamin D can be important if you are breastfeeding. If mom supplements with 6,400 IUs a day, that will be enough for her baby if you opt not to supplement your baby, but that's always something you can talk to your pediatrician about. But really in these phases, it's about eating what you can, when you can, keeping yourself nourished, keeping yourself active as much as you can. And really, yes, eating healthy is great, but if you don't have a huge appetite or you're exhausted, just eat. I just want you to eat, okay? When you're feeding your family, oh my gosh, again, I could do an entire webinar on this one too. My favorite tip is meal planning at the beginning of the week. Setting aside of time and just writing out the dinners you're going to have. And if you find a recipe you like, writing it down, that's my other tip, because that's something I don't do. And I just end up forgetting about an amazing, easy recipe. Remember the convenience foods. It's okay if you use quick cook rice. It's okay if you use frozen veggies. You know, it's okay if you use pre-cooked meat. Throwing a meal together sometimes involves having to take shortcuts, and it's okay. As long as your family is eating a nourishing meal most of the time, we are in good shape, okay? And I'm happy to come up with some ideas, during the Q&A section. And you do run out. Someone mentioned meal plans are so hard, and they are. And I have a tough time every week because I'm not an idea person. I'm not a culinary person, and it is hard. There are meal plans on Pinterest, and there are meal planning services. Foodsmart app has one option, but there are others. If you just Google meal planning, there are options for like $5 a month, $8 a month, and they'll just give you the recipes and the shopping list, and you just use that. I use that for a while. I use those, but then with the gluten-free and stuff, it just became a little trickier. But you can take shortcuts with that too. And also, one thing a colleague of mine does is she makes some rice, she makes some beans, she chops up some veggies or roasts some veggies, has a sauce on theme with whether it's Mexican or Asian or Italian or whatever. And then the kids just kind of pick out what they want and make their own bowls. And that's what she does like 3 nights out of the week. It's so simple. It can be, some sort of finger food and the chopped up raw veggies, or, sliced cucumber. And it is hard. I'm not going to pretend it's not hard, especially for someone who's not culinarily minded. And again, you come see me, we can brainstorm about it. Or come see one of my colleagues, we can brainstorm. Now, in terms of perimenopause and postmenopause, another common question we get, there are no proven like this is what's going to help. And there are lots of different things luckily being researched now, but some things we do know: healthy fats may help with hot flash relief. So our nuts, our fish, our avocado, things like that. Our cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, oh my gosh, my brain, broccoli, collard greens, cauliflower, vegetables in that family, we do know helps with longevity and cancer protection. Bone health is important as we get older. So getting your calcium and vitamin D in there. And strength training helps with the lean muscle mass that we start losing at age 30 because yay. And then stretching and balance is really important for fall prevention. So getting all of those components in for physical activity as well. Okay, so here's a summary of what we've learned about today. And I know we're almost at time. I'm sorry, I just get so excited about these topics, but I hope this was a helpful overview. I know it was a lot of information. And I think we have time for a couple of questions. I was kind of keeping a little bit of an eye on the chat. Like I said, if you want to put them in the Q&A, if you have access to that, feel free to put them in there. But I did see a question about restaurant chains. You can find something at almost any restaurant chain. I don't have anything specific. I mean, Subway's great because you can customize, same with Chipotle. But other than that, it's really finding out what your needs are. And I've looked at menus with patients before and gone, okay, what would be good to come up with? Oh, this is a good question. Do you have any tips for information to prep before your first meeting? We love to see labs, lists of medications. And then if you want to, I'm not keeping a food journal is a lot of work, but if you want to jot down, okay, what have I eaten in the past couple of days? What are my main questions so you can stay on track? Those would be helpful things, but I love that question. The slide that listed getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep per day and drinking 11 glasses of water per day. Sure. Let me grab that. Let's see. Here we go. This was the detox slide I had to get through. So the reason your body detoxes itself just fine. And really, when we're talking about a detox from a dietitian perspective, it's just like, okay, let's get in some more healthy habits, get some antioxidants in. It's not like we have to drink lemon water only for 4 days or drink some special tea for a few days. Usually those are just caffeine laden and not super helpful. I have a question. Do any Foodsmart dietitians specialize in thyroid conditions? We absolutely have some. It would just depend on your the state you're in and who is licensed in your state. Claire, I don't know if we have like a customer service or patient care team information we can drop in there if she wants to email and find someone specific or ask before she schedules a visit.
Yeah, definitely. You can reach out to our support team at support@foodsmart.com to get any questions like that answered around specific dietitian areas or your coverage. So I'll drop that in the chat again for people to use.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Any other questions? Because we are at time. I know you are all super busy, so I don't want to keep you for too long. The recording will be available, but it was a pleasure being here. I hope this was helpful. I really do. I know it's a lot of information. I teach breastfeeding classes, so I know how it is when you have to have a lot of information in a short period of time. Plans for specific cooking styles, that's something we can individualize and talk to you about. Absolutely. Okay. Oh, good. I'm so glad it was helpful, everyone. I'm sorry we didn't get to my workout. I kind of needed it too. But my workout did come from the Mama Strong program. I highly recommend it, even if you're not a mom. I highly recommend checking that out. It's a pelvic floor based program. It has absolutely changed things for me. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.